to our country due to his efforts, due to the stock market, due to the tax reform that was taking place. We know about the record black and brown unemployment in our country, record levels. So in just one short year, this President of the United States has done more than his predecessor did in 8 long years. President Trump is a pioneer of the American spirit and a reflection of that pioneering spirit. Another American, a lot older than President Trump, was William Leidersdorf. And I should tell you that I and several wonderful guests, I have a little international United Nations table of guests of diversity. And that is due to Tova Leidersdorf, who is the great-granddaughter by marriage of the great William Leidersdorf. But let me tell you just a little bit about him. William Leidersdorf is the African-American founder of the state of California. He's an immigrant from St. Croix, half Jewish, half African-American, so he's got all the boxes checked. He's immigrant, he's African-American, and he's Jewish. He was the first treasurer in the city of San Francisco, served on the first city council, organized the first hotel in San Francisco, and was the first black millionaire in the United States of America. I have no doubt that if William Leidersdorf were alive today, he would either be a friend, a dear friend of our President Donald Trump, or a fierce competitor. Probably both. You know, I mentioned that I've got a little United Nations at our table, thanks to the generosity of Tova Leidersdorf and the Trumpettes and Tony. Let me just briefly say, we've got great Americans like a Republican activist out of New York who's been involved in the movement for decades, Jimmy Chu, an entrepreneur from Texas that's with us, Orlando Salazar and his wonderful wife Janet, Republican and conservative activist Rick Figueroa, radio talk show host Thuy Lo, former Miss Orlando and head of Chinese Americans for Trump, Winley Cummings. Of course, we also have the owner, you know, in this era of fake news, we've got a real publisher here with us tonight. Publisher of several newspapers in Washington, D.C., Jimmy Finkelstein, Chairman Emeritus of Friends of the Israeli Defense Force, Nili Falek, and last but certainly not least, she's already standing. You know, earlier this week we celebrated the memory of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Well, here we have with us tonight his niece, Alveda King, Dr. Alveda King, right over there.
Make sure to go on stage and
I feel the hook coming soon, so I'm going to wrap it up, but I'm going to actually talk to Lara and to Eric. Eric and Lara, you probably don't know this story. You probably don't know this story about your dad. At a time that you've got scurrilous charges of racism that are untrue, that are unfortunate, and I could easily talk about the millions of dollars in philanthropy. I could talk about the number of black entertainers that your father helped make. But actually, I'm going to tell you a story you don't know about, Eric. In 1989, he was an inspiration to a whole generation of African Americans and other minorities. You know why? Because on NBC News, they weren't so fake back then. But on NBC News, he was on a panel with Spike Lee. And, you know, of course, you had the NBC folk and other folk pushing the victim syndrome, which is dominating our culture, unfortunately, today, but even back then. And your father said, no. If I had to do it all over again, and I was educated, ambitious, and Black American, I would choose to be that because the world is Black America's oyster. That's what your father said, and he was an inspiration to us all. It is that type of optimism that undermines, as Janine said, the far left agenda of hyphenating Americans. You're not Black American, you're a victim. You're not Hispanic American, you're a victim. You're not a Jewish American, you're a victim. Hyphenated victims. Well, that's not what Donald Trump stands for, and that's not the type of optimism that he's bringing to our country to make America great again.